Welcome to another episode of Humans for Humanity. Some people dream about building something real. She got up and did it. Not once, not for show, but every day, behind the scenes, with a level of grit most people never see. This is Humans for Humanity, not just a podcast, a soul strategy lab for the ones who don't wait to be chosen. Here we unpack the blueprint behind resilience, the truth behind transformation, and the mindset required to build what lasts. And today we're joined by a woman who didn't just create a brand, she built a standard. Jen, owner of hashtag This, is a powerhouse entrepreneur, creative force, and walking example of what happens when dedication meets direction. This is the reckoning of the self made standard. Jen doesn't just run a business, she honors it. She knows success isn't aesthetic, it's alignment. It's staying consistent when no one's clapping. It's sharpening your craft, mastering your lane, and doing the inner work that makes the outer empire sustainable. She doesn't preach hustle for applause, she lives discipline for peace. She's made the sacrifices no one saw, taken the risks no one warned her about, and came out on the other side not just profitable, but powerful. This episode is for the builders, the ones who have faced betrayal, burnout, or breakdown and decided to use it as a blueprint, not baggage. This isn't a glow up story, it's a ground up story. Let's begin. Humans for Humanity is more than a podcast, it's a living experiment. A spiritual archive, a collective echo of what it means to walk the obstacle course of embodiment and come out more whole than we began. Each episode is guided by spirit and shaped by tarot. I don't write questions in advance, I pull cards and follow the energy. Because I believe the soul already knows what wants to be spoken, it just needs permission to speak. Behind this project is something bigger. I channeled a map called the Blueprint. It's my theory of consciousness. It says that we don't just show up on Earth, we drop in with purpose. And as we move through life, we traverse an invisible structure made of energetic gateways, each linked to a chakra, each initiating us into a deeper version of truth, power, and love. Every human story holds clues. When someone speaks about betrayal, grief, purpose, survival, or awakening, I listen for the frequency underneath of the facts. The blueprint helps me track where their soul is in the arc of return, what chakra they're wrestling with, what lesson they came here to embody. This podcast helps me prove the blueprint by living it in real time. By letting people tell the truth of what they've been through and noticing the patterns that emerge. Because when we zoom out, we see your story isn't separate from mine. And our pain isn't random, it's part of the passage. Humans for Humanity is the collective field where those pieces come together. Where what once broke us becomes what makes us medicine. It's a sacred conversation between one voice and the many, one soul and the system that we're all moving through. And if we keep listening, we just might remember why we came. Thank you so much, Jen, for being here today. For anyone who is not aware, Jen is the one who does my hair. She is a hair genie.
Thank you for having me.
So Jen is a very successful entrepreneur. She, built from the ground up her brand, her business, her talent, her skill. So I definitely want to start this in the business mindset, right? In what way did you have to learn how to stand out amongst those who do things that are very similar to you? Like, how did you learn to find your thumbprint here?
I guess more of it was building a relationship with your clients. Like I felt like the more they sat down and the more you talked to them, the more they felt comfortable with you and you felt comfortable with them. But then you also get to know them on like how they want their hair. Like I feel like your hair is an expression of you And if you feel like poop, your hair looks like poop.
You had to get clarity about Queen of Cups. There's a fine line when it comes to boundaries because especially with you, you're very friendly with a lot of your clients. So there's a fine line between overextending yourself to the point of exhaustion versus still giving your clients everything that they need plus a little extra, right? So how do you learn that difference of boundaries there?
I don't think I did learn boundaries. I always tell them, if I can do it, I can do it. But if I can't do it, I just physically can't do it. And they know that I will try my hardest. And then if I can't, they just know that I gave my all and there was nothing I could do.
Talk about the one decision that you made that you feel like changed everything going forward.
Just knowing I could do it by myself, but with my mom helping me because she's my rock.
That's a difficult one. Learning, like, especially branching out and into putting everything into your own business. It's like, knowing that your backbone is gonna have to come from your decision making. Talk about in which ways does your inner child or like that past version of you look at you now with like pride, like, "Oh, we did it." Talk about that feeling.
Guess because when I was little, I always wanted to do hair. And then I don't know, I guess there was always like this faux pas, like, oh, she's just a hairdresser. Like hairdressers are ding dongs, I guess. And then I don't know, one day I just did it. Of course, my mom always jokes and said she knew I wanted to do hair because I'd be braiding my hair and putting it in a ponytail at a tiny age. Plus, I also hid in the closet and trimmed my sister's hair and hid it in a shoebox. So it was a wrap after that.
How do you feel like similar themes showed up in your life that prepared you to now be in the position of like in charge of your life? Like you're in that main character energy, you're stepping into it even more so. What lessons do you feel like prepared you for that?
I don't know. I feel like my mom always taught me, like, don't depend on anyone but yourself. She's like, if you want it, get it.
And sometimes it seems like that's such a simple mindset, but it's also very complex because then you think, okay, I want it, I have to get it. Now I have to figure out the steps to do that, right? How did you continue to take steps forward when you couldn't see the next steps ahead? Like how did you learn to trust yourself in that regard?
I guess because I figured you don't get anywhere unless you take a chance. Stay there. That's where you're stuck. Unless you take one little step and a little step and a little step. I always say you got to get comfortable in the discomfort of life. And then you just make it harder. And then you get comfortable there. And then you make it harder. So what used to be hard wasn't hard.
Absolutely. The more you avoid it, the bigger it feels to face. In what other areas of your life does that translate to? Like, I need to recognize how if my value is not being met, I need to make a change. Like, the change starts with me. Talk about that.
Well, I guess I don't ever like to fail anyone. So I always just try to push forward and push forward. And then when I feel like I am failing someone, I push harder. And then if someone doubts me, then I really push harder because that would be my mother coming out and me like, told you I could do it.
Talk about one thing that you were determined to prove others wrong about.
I feel like when I first started, no one could think I could do it. I just feel like ever since I was little, like, so I'm dyslexic and I can't spell. So all throughout my life, everyone thought I was stupid because I couldn't spell. I'm like, just because I can't spell doesn't mean I'm not good at other things. And my dad always said that my kid is an artsy person. She needs hands-on activity, and hair is hands-on.
And it's interesting because you're a genius at your craft. Like you know exactly it's like you have this photographic memory of what it should be, right? So it's interesting how that translates. So what limiting belief do you feel like you needed to overcome in that regard? Like they think I can't do it. What do I need to not listen to that they're saying so I can do it?
I guess I just don't listen to their judgmental attitude.
Talk about mindset when it pertains to like, in what ways did you have to find a way around the obstacles that you couldn't break through?
I just feel like there's always been obstacles, and then I don't know, I guess I always felt like I could cry about it or just try to prevail over it.
Talk about what seems to be a commonality of what you see a lot of people are maybe dealing with right now or struggling with right now that you could give a different perspective on because of your position that you're witnessing it from.
I guess I just feel like a lot of people right now are just because life's so hard. I try to say that lightly, but I don't know what planet we're on right now, but it's a little weird over here. I don't know. I feel like in the last like 5 years, everyone, it's hard being a mom. Like I always tell them all the time, I don't know how they do it. Their kids play sports and they have to jump from one place to the other to the other. I feel like them and they're like, oh yeah, Billy has baseball. I'm like, no, you have baseball. I feel like it's the daily struggle of money, mom life, and jobs.
And it's interesting that so many people feel alone in that, and you're in the position where, like, you're not alone. I had 10 of you today that were all kinda dealing with something similar.
Yep.
In what ways do you feel like there's this limiting belief around what's possible if you don't fit a certain standard of what people think you should do or know? Like, how do you reframe that? Like, no, there's more possible than what you were told is possible because of certain limitations.
I feel like there's limitations on everything. It's just what you limit yourself. Like if you don't try and then you just think that you've reached the limit, you just always have to push past it.
That kind of brings me into your gym mindset. In what way do you find mental relief or release through the process of, like, the physical exertion in the gym?
It's usually just where I take out my stress. And then half the time I'm thinking if I move this person here, I can fit this person there. Or someone sends me some crazy thing on how they want their hair, and that's when I'm mentally coloring their hair before they come in. So that's my gym time.
So kinda still working, just in a different setting.
Yeah. Where I get my best thoughts.
What's something important that you have learned from your clients as it pertains to balance or strategy? What's something that you've learned from your clients?
I've learned from them because most of them are moms. When I say, I don't know how you do it, they say, Jen, you just figure it out. So I feel like in life, you just have to figure it out.
In what ways do you feel like you've become who you need it to be through finding your purpose and finding your passion? How has that brought you to who you've became?
I feel like I just like to make people happy. So I feel like there's no better feeling is when you get done doing someone's hair and they like hug you, or they just come in and they're so sad and they had like the worst day. And then all of a sudden you like spin them around and then their life is sparkles and rainbows and you can't tell them nothing.
It's the deeper meaning behind it. What lesson has that taught you that you didn't expect to learn? Like, what lesson has almost witnessing the effect that you can have on people and the ripple that that can have in their lives? What has that taught you in an unexpected way?
I just feel like if everyone took time to make everyone else, well, make themselves happy, but make other people happy. They're too busy. Some people just feed off the negative outlook on life and they feed off negative energy. But if everyone was a little more positive and a little more happy and got happy when other people were happy, then maybe everyone would stop being such an ugly person.
When it comes to how we treat and affect other people, what do you feel is the vulnerability that people are afraid of? Like, what do you think people are afraid of when it comes to just treating others nicely instead of maybe stepping on others to get ahead or something in that regard?
Probably because nice people always get shit on.
That's true. That's true. That's so true.
Do something good and they're like, don't care.
Yep. You're not wrong. How do you transmute that? At times in your life when you've held space for people, at times in your life when you've overextended yourself or just been the supportive, loving person, and you've been met with not that, you've been met with the opposite of that. How did you learn that that's not a reflection of your worth, but a reflection of what the other party is able to hold space for or not?
Or I feel like some people just don't care if you do anything nice for them because they just expect it.
Talk about a time when you had to rebuild your confidence and what you learned from that, from the rebuilding of your confidence.
I feel like every once in a while you get like a doozy person that like doesn't matter if you do it perfect, they're not happy, and then they'll make you feel like you don't know how to do your job. And then the next person comes in and you're like, "What do you want?" And they're like, "Do whatever you want," because they know that you know how to do your job. So I feel like your confidence is like tested every single day.
What's one thing that always allows you to recenter yourself when you're having moments of stress or anxiety or overwhelm?
I call my mom and trauma dump on her.
And it was just Mother's Day, so
I
happy
know.
Mother's Day to
You
Jen's
can tell
mom. Which ways Do you then incorporate her advice or learn how to like sit with yourself and reground? Like,
Well, she's usually pretty much right on everything. So then I usually just take a second to reflect and listen to what she says, even though sometimes I don't like it.
talk about then taking advice that may be the right advice, even if it's hard to hear.
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of times she gives me advice and I think it's wrong, but still take it because she's right. Probably more so when everything happened that was catastrophic last year. And she said it was a blessing in disguise. And she said everything happens for a reason. And I sat there and cried. And I was like, but what's the reason? But it was probably so I could build and be a bigger person and know that I could do it by myself.
You've taken certain paths based off of your intuition that have paid out. Talk about something you've learned from that.
Guess I learned if you get scared and you don't take a chance, then you'll never know if you could do it or not.
How how do you structure your goals right now? Talk about how to make sure that your goals are big enough but also attainable.
I'm crazy, so I don't think my goals are ever big enough. So I always try to go bigger and bigger and bigger. But I feel like I just try to take it one step at a time because I'd rather step forward than step backwards.
Or advice that you would give to anyone watching, like client wise, or anyone that knows you, that lines of encouragement or advice in that way based off of things that you've learned from either different stories from clients or something along those lines.
I guess if you're a mom, you're a powerhouse because only powerhouse can raise kids. I feel like you just have to try to look at the positivity because what's hard in your life, someone else could think that's great. So your hard times are never as hard as you think they are. Your struggles is someone else's goals. Just close your eyes and just go. Live life like a circle.
Keep going until you find a way to break into that next level. Just keep approaching it from a different perspective. Investing in yourself versus making sure that your investments are actually paying off and you're not just blindly investing yourself.
I feel like if you invest yourself as a person, then it just already sets what you are.
How to not let the water from other people's ship get in your boat and sink it. How to not allow other people's projections to cause you to stop progressing.
Put swimmies on.
You gotta find a way to stay afloat.
Just get a bucket and start dumping out their water.
Setting yourself apart from the competition in some way.
I feel like a lot of problem is like people don't listen when their clients are in, and everyone always jokes them like your memory, because I will tell you what you did 5 years ago on a Tuesday when you left my chair. Don't ask me what I did, but I can tell you what you did.
Just that building that connection is
Yep,
what will, when you find people that support you for you, they'll be happy to help you build the brand in
yep.
some ways. Thank you so much for being here. Jen did not hear the outro, just as none of the guests hear the outro. She didn't come here to explain herself. She came to show you what alignment looks like when it's lived, not just posted about. No theatrics, no overexposure, just the quiet conviction of someone who's done the work when no one was watching. Jen didn't bring inspiration, she brought infrastructure. Proof that you can build something solid on your own terms, in your own time, without compromising who you are. She reminded us that real transformation doesn't always look like breakdowns and breakthroughs. Sometimes it looks like taking full responsibility, getting clear, moving smarter, letting growth happen behind the scenes until the results speak for themselves. Jen isn't here to heal you, she's here to hand you the mirror, the plan, and the push so you can empower yourself. This is the reckoning of the self made standard, not built on speed, built on substance. And if something inside you got clearer today, more honest, less willing to settle for performance of progress, good. That means it landed. Not as hype, as a nudge, that you're allowed to start where you are, build what you need, and become who you were never handed. And that's exactly what Jen just modeled. Thank you again to Jen, and thank you everyone so much for watching. Next week, we have Michaela and Brock. Brock, a lot of you may know from TikTok. Then we have my friend from childhood coming on, Sarah, who's going to go into an infertility to fertility journey, and relationships and mom life a little bit. And then I have my friend Amanda, who is a fighter, who's going to be talking about, like, a literal professional fighter, talking about growth and mindset. So look forward to those coming up soon. The Humans for Humanity page is up. Give me about a week for Jen's page. There is wisdom from the episode. There is a 10 and 20 card tarot spread based off of the episode, a playlist by the guest, and much more. There's also the Humans for Humanity application that is available. It is a little bit lengthy, so please take your time with it. You can type it, voice record, or video record that and send it in. Thank you again to Jen. Thank you, everyone, so much for watching. This was Humans for Humanity, and I will see you very soon.